Hello and welcome to your favourite podcast, Not Without My Sister, starring your favourite sisters. Me, Rosemary McCabe, and my sister, Beatrice McCabe. Beatrice, how are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks, Rosemary. I thought you were going to say your favourite podcast. What's your man's name?
Blind Boy.
No, the American guy.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, welcome to your favourite podcast, Joe Rogan, only joking. Rosemary McCabe.
Today on the podcast, we thought we would talk about, by popular demand, have to say, because of the time that's in it, weddings. And the time that's in it is the time after I just got married.
Congratulations, Rosemary. What a relief.
Thanks so much, Beatrice. What a joyous occasion. I couldn't believe, actually, one of my friends commented on the picture and said, you look so happy. And you said, it's because she finally got the ring on her finger.
I know, and I got zero reaction to it. I was extremely unimpressed. I was extremely disappointed. Thought it was hilarious.
It was hilarious, but I was like burning with feverish rage over in my house going, what can I respond to that?
In fairness, that picture that you're going to have to post for everybody, that is the absolute, it's like amazing. It's like you look so meek and well behaved and well mannered right up until the wedding, and then you are marching along the road giving Brandon what for, telling him what his future is going to look like. It is amazing to me. And in every picture he looks equally delighted, so that's nice.
I know, but that picture is so funny where I have my hand up and I look like I'm going, but hang on a second, I have something to say. Like,
you're literally
I'm
like,
talking.
That's not what's going on here. Yeah. And it's funny because I sent it to Mom and Dad and said, here's the best expression of Rosemary basically ever. And Rosemary, you then said, oh, I've already sent this to all my friends as a great example of my true personality coming through. So I thought that was funny.
Well, I mean, I had to say it before somebody else did. So I was like, I knew if I said that to anybody, they were going to be like, that's such a you expression.
So, Rosemary, the question that everybody's dying to ask, or at least I'm dying for you to answer, what happened? Why last Thursday? Why the rush? What about poor Mom and Dad? That's question number 2.
You absolute weapon.
What?
Oh my God, I hate when you try to guilt me live on the podcast.
I'm not trying to guilt you. I got a lot of questions about that, like separately via WhatsApp.
So did I.
Poor Mom and Dad.
So basically, like probably a combination of loads of different things. We got engaged on Christmas Eve.
Engaged?
No, not Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. Finally, it happened to me. Yeah, we got engaged on New Year's Eve. And then our original plan was, and this is still kind of our plan, that we were going to have a wedding party next summer when the pandemic is over and everybody can travel.
Still kind of, or still your plan?
So basically, we got engaged on New Year's Eve. And originally we thought that we would have a wedding next summer once the pandemic was over and once everybody can travel and come over here, we'd have something like in the summer in really nice weather. And that still is the plan, that we're going to have a big party.
In my garden?
But yes, maybe. If your garden's looking fab. Basically, we, like loads of kind of more practical things came up. Like we were thinking about my health insurance and that I can't go on Brandon's health insurance until I have...
A ring on your finger.
A ring
on your finger.
Yeah, until I have a ring on my finger and a piece of paper to me name, which feels really old-fashioned as well. Like, what if you're just a couple who doesn't ever want to get married, but I couldn't go on his insurance that he has through his work until we're married?
It's whatever. Like, in my insurance, Don was on my insurance before we were married. Like, so it just depends on whatever his company offers, and it's the same company insurance that I have, but it's whatever plan he's offered through his work.
Whatever plan he's on doesn't allow for
it's
like
a more traditional plan
potentially.
Whatever. Yes,
seems to be.
Mm-hmm.
So my visa expires in December 2022, which obviously isn't for a while. But I had a whole drama when I came over. Do you remember when I sent my passport and my documents to the Social Security office, and they basically told me that they had lost them? There was no sign not that they had lost them, but that they'd never shown up. I also, like an idiot, sent my birth cert and my passport with my visa in it.
I vaguely remember
not
this.
Not via registered post.
Idiot.
Yeah. And then I tried to contact them to go, where is it? When it never showed up. And they're basically like, oh, it's not here. It never showed up. So I had to get a new passport, meaning next time I go back to Ireland, I'll have to go to the American Embassy again, do another interview, get another visa because my visa is now tied to my old passport number, which is now cancelled.
Rosemary. Methink the lady doth protest too much.
I mean, look, obviously
these are not the reasons you got
know.
married. When you know,
you know.
You know. Exactly.
No, but like, that's like...
No.
When you know, you know,
no.
and like...
That long-winded story about your passport, no. If you were not into Brandy and he was driving you mad and he was offering you hair curling advice on a throne in Belfast, you'd be like, no thanks.
But like, yeah, but that's more like why we decided to get married. Why we decided to get married
No,
so
you decided to get married.
Rosemary,
Rosemary, let's press this again in case Brandon ever hears. Rosemary, why did you decide to get married on Thursday?
Listen to our podcast anymore.
Well... Everybody in my family does.
Isn't that rude?
So, no, it's not rude. It's probably lucky. So, Rosemary, why did you decide to get married last Thursday?
I'm just so in love, Beatrice.
Oh, good. Rosemary, yes. Now you're sucking diesel. Go on.
I just couldn't wait a minute longer. I thought to myself, and you know what as well, Beatrice? I knew that if we didn't get married till next summer, I'd have to wait that long to consummate our marriage. And I just couldn't stay a virgin any longer. So I was like...
Oh my God, yes.
That was a bit dramatic.
I wasn't dramatic. I can't help it. That was amazing. Yes, what an answer. Claire McCabe. There you go.
Virgin on the ridiculous.
And so, Rosemary, great news. So it's now Sunday, so you must be exhausted based on that.
My God, I've been riding my head off for the last 4 days.
WRITHIN. Is that what you mean? Apostrophe.
Or a...
WRITHIN. Writhen.
Oh. I thought you meant writing, but you were spelling it really weirdly. I was like, what?
No, I'm trying to protect poor mother.
Both.
Poor mother.
Both writhing and riding.
Oh, God's sakes.
One preceding the other.
Yet again, it's like I make a joke. You couldn't just like leave it there with a wink and a nod. You have to go into detail.
You're correct. I did. Would you like some more detail? Anyway. So we went to the county courthouse downtown Fort Wayne. We were allowed to have, I think we were allowed to have 6 people, and in the end we had 5. And oh my God, I actually have to say it was so nice. I was talking to one of my friends on the day. So we got married at 4:45, right? You obviously know because you were there, but for other people who are listening who don't know. And I was talking to a friend of mine during that day, and she called me and she's like, oh my God, what are you doing? Are you getting ready? And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm like sitting on my computer watching Good Girls and like playing Sudoku or whatever. And she was like, oh my God, imagine if you were having like a really traditional wedding, you would have been up at 7 getting your makeup done. And I was so glad that I wasn't doing that. Do you know what I mean?
No, you looked absolutely lovely. Genuinely, you looked absolutely lovely. And
I was wishing afterwards you had told me to like tip my hair upside down and mess it up a bit. It was
I thought your hair looked lovely.
Flat or something.
No, your hair looked genuinely lovely. Your dress was lovely. Your entire outfit was lovely. I thought the whole thing was really, really nice. I do wonder though, and I wonder if we should blame Mom for this, because I also got married in City Hall, but in Brooklyn. And you looked to me slightly mortified, right? Like you kind of got a fit of the giggles. Like it was about a 5-minute long ceremony, right? And you were definitely...
Oh my God, sorry, I almost did get a fit of the giggles, but afterwards Brandon was like, oh yeah, in that moment where you nearly started crying. And I was like, yeah, that's what it was.
That's so adorable. Bless him. Good thing he's not listening to this. Let's leave him there with that thought.
Let him believe that forever.
But I remember we got married in City Hall in Brooklyn, and we were planning the same thing as you, except we never had the party or the wedding afterwards. And I regret it, which is why I'm like, you have to have it, because I think you will regret it. Like it's a one time in your life where you have this big party that's about you and celebrating your relationship, etc. But I was mortified. Like I was real like, what I think because it wasn't a big build up to it, I didn't have like the mental preparation. I went to work that day.
Yeah.
I left at lunchtime. I went and met Don at City Hall, and he had Nash at the time in his baby Bjorn, and Julie came with us, and Julie was going to be our witness, but she didn't
and
bring...
Nash was wearing a little waistcoat, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a dote. I have a picture, I'll share it afterwards.
So cute.
And Julie came as our witness, but like I had not read up on this, and she didn't have her ID, etc., so she couldn't be our witness, so some randomer had to be our witness, which was fine. Like Julie was still there, and Julie brought the flowers, etc., and it was lovely, but it was about 10 minutes long, and I just remember feeling like really kind of mortified. I was like, this is... like I'm doing this ridiculous thing, and like I'm not really getting married, and I'm married, but like I'm not really grown up enough to be married, etc. Whereas I think if it's a big wedding day, like you've put so much thought and planning and preparation into it that like by the time it comes around, you're just like, thank God you're here and you really enjoy it. Whereas I felt very
it's a big occasion.
Yeah, I felt like mortified. But I also wonder if that's Mom's fault for being so
easily mortified.
Yes, exactly. Well said.
Yeah. Because I mean, I'm obviously not like, I'm not like Mum in that sense that I've no problem with public speaking, and I've no problem like, you know, talking in a group or whatever, being kind of singled out, whereas those are all Mum's like worst nightmares. But then when it came to that the other day, and even just like standing in front of Brandon, and when he was reading out the bits where you say I do, I was just like, it just felt weird, like I was in like I was acting in a play, you know what I mean?
But it's different. Public speaking is more about like, I have an opinion here. It's more opinion based, right? Here's my opinion. Here's what I think. This is more about like, hey, Rosemary, we're here to celebrate you. You're great. We like you. And that's really embarrassing from my perspective. I'm like, oh God, like stop talking about me. Stop looking at me. Like, yeah, we're grand, you know? I was thinking about, I was like, how did Mom actually get married? And then I was thinking about unrelated. Do you remember she had this lovely pink and white wedding dress, pink and white hat, which was very trendy, right? Like the hat
gorgeous,
was,
yeah.
And then she put it in the dressing up box, and I was like, and I was only a kid, so obviously we played the crap out of that wedding dress and the hat, and they got wrecked. And I think then we dyed it black, and she let us
dye it black.
Yeah,
yeah, to be a witch at Halloween.
She let us, and I'm like, but that also speaks to, I think, her sort of kind of lack of regard for
reverence
herself and the wedding. And I'm like, I was too young. I was a kid, like enjoying being allowed to trash these things. Like, she should have kept them. Now I'm raging with her for not keeping them and like having them to look at and, you know, look back on, etc. But I mean, we did enjoy them a lot growing up.
Oh yeah, we really did. I think I have photos of all of my friends in Mom's wedding dress as well, which is
and
is
the
funny.
hat.
Like,
the hat was amazing.
All of us the hat was amazing. Yeah, I don't know if I like, this is more about me now than about Mom.
Oh,
but
what a surprise!
Mom was always basically, this is totally about me, not about Mom. But I'm kind of glad we don't have it anymore, because I feel like I would just be depressed about how absolutely tiny it is. Because I remember it used to fit me when I was like 12.
Well, I'm absolutely shocked by our grandmother's dresses that I have. One of which is her wedding dress that I once fit into.
You wore to your graduation,
remember, I wore
right?
to my graduation, and now I look at it and it's literally the length. It is the width of my hand, the tip of my finger, my middle finger to my wrist. Not quite, but like
I just remember that morning.
Minute.
You asked me to go down and iron it, and I don't think I'd ever. I think I was like, what age was I? 14 or 15. I don't think I'd ever ironed anything before, which is like, for shame.
Trusting of me.
Mum should have been teaching me to keep house.
I love the way I'm like. I love the way my comment. Honestly, my actual thought was the cheek of me asking you to iron it.
I know, but I was just about to say, I don't think it was about trust. You were in an absolute flap, like trying to do your hair or your makeup. I was like, Rosemary, go down and iron this.
I was in a flap.
And I was like, oh my God. And I went down, and I think I sprayed the steam thing, and I didn't realise that the stain it made would evaporate, if you know what I mean. And I was like, oh my God. I was literally downstairs for about 20 minutes.
Maybe that's the stain on the back of it, actually. Maybe that's what's come through after all these years. I'm going to look at it when I go upstairs now and see if I can blame you for it. I think it actually got damaged by mold in one of our moves.
Should have said nothing.
I know, right? You fool. Anyway, so
you though had a party back in Ireland after your wedding.
I think it was like 2 years after, right? Because we.
Oh yeah. It was like, I think it was when you were pregnant with Chance, wasn't it?
No, I think it was
with Bo.
I think it was with Bo. It was with Bo. We kept planning.
It was Bo because
it was 2
Nash
years
was.
later.
Do you remember my friend Emma minded Nash at home, and he was like 3?
Yeah, we kept planning to have it, and that's why I think that you need to, in my opinion, like if I were you, I would recommend making sure that you still have this, because I feel like once you have the piece of paper and you have the, you have the whole thing, kind of people become like, oh well, they're married, it's grand. Certainly, people, Mom, become like super blasé with the idea that you're married. But like, to me, I never really felt married. I knew that I had a piece of paper and we'd had this, signed this document, but it wasn't, I don't know, maybe there is no feeling married. I wanted to have a celebration with my friends and family to be like, woohoo.
But you didn't feel like you'd had a wedding, like you had just got married.
I mean, and honestly, to me, a wedding was never important. It was more that I just wanted to have, I think I really missed everybody in Ireland too. So like, I wanted to celebrate with the people that I loved, who loved me, and loads of them had never met Don too. So I wanted everybody to meet Don. And I wanted to kind of have that. Maybe that was more it. Maybe it was more a an acknowledgement or like a transition into the family, you know, that I wanted to have this kind of like ritual, like acceptance or, you know, next step. But it wasn't so
welcome
much
to the fold.
Yes,
like,
it wasn't so much about like, oh my God, now I want to be married and I want to have a white dress and I want to do all these things. It wasn't about that. Or I want to, you know, I want to have bridesmaids and I want to. It was more just I wanted to have everybody together.
You did wear a white dress though. It was nice. You did wear a white dress.
To the actual thing
the one in Ireland.
In Brooklyn. Oh yeah, I did. I mean, it was grand. No, it was really hick. It was grand. I was super pregnant.
It was nice, like a white shift dress.
It was grand.
You were super
I was pregnant, so it was
nice.
hard to find something. And we also went and tried to find it 4 hours before the dinner itself. So that left us.
I remember.
That left us with not quite as much choice as we could have had otherwise. But I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was grand. It was nice. It wasn't about, you know what I mean. It wasn't in that sense. It wasn't that it was about the dress and the flowers, and it was more about like all the people who were there. And I really enjoyed and appreciated that everybody came, and we all had this really nice dinner, and it was really nice for me. Like I thought it was really nice. Like I loved it, and had it was definitely a moment where I just went, that was important for me, you know?
Yeah. And in hindsight, do you wish you had, like, what do you wish you had done? Do you wish you had a big wedding party in Brooklyn and invited everyone to that? Or like, what would you have done differently?
No, because we thought about having a wedding in Brooklyn and decided not to because of the expense. The majority of people would have been coming from Ireland, right? And they were all like, what'll I do with my kids? What'll I do with this? What'll I do with that? Because people didn't want to go from Ireland to New York, obviously, for a weekend, you know. So they were more like, if I go for a week, I'm going to, and then what am I going to do with my kids, etc., etc. And it became kind of overwhelming. I didn't have I had a very, you know, small budget at the time. So I just more wish that I had done it all at once in closer proximity, you know, that I think what you did was good. Like you had definitely a very legal ceremony and we all went and had a drink afterwards, but then we all went home, you know, and I think the fact that you're saying from the beginning, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a party next year. I didn't kind of think that far ahead. I was more like, hey, we're doing this because we had to do it for insurance, but mainly because I was pregnant and we wanted to make sure. Mom was very fixated on this idea of like, of giving, you know, making sure that Don's rights as a parent were legalized before, you know, and that was, I think that was actually important because if you're not married and I was an Irish citizen and he was an American citizen, like it gave me citizenship because I was on a H-1B at that point. I was on, you know, which renews all the time. So like I was and a H-1B is tied to your job. So if I lost my job, I would have had to leave. And if I'd had to leave, Don would have had no rights. So it was more about that. Whereas you're on an O visa. So if you're not tied to Brandon in the same way or tied to America in the same way. Like if you don't have a job, you can stay. Your relationship is not beholden on your relationship has nothing to do with the visa that you have. Like you can stay here. And if you don't have a job, you can still be with Brandon. You know,
well, I mean, technically, my main sponsor, if they decided to revoke their sponsorship, I could be deported. But that's not going to happen. So it is different. Like,
yeah, it is totally different.
It's not dependent on employment per se.
No, because it's totally different. Like that would require something major to happen, and then you have a certain window of time. Whereas mine was like, in America, most of your employment is at will, which means that tomorrow they could let you go and they don't have to give you any reason why. It's just like, hey, sorry, we didn't have we're done, and here's 2 weeks' pay. And so if that happened, I then had to leave the country immediately. And so once I was pregnant with Nash, the conversation was like, then how do I remove that kind of power from my employer, you know? And so getting married was the answer. And even though, and I mean, obviously we were planning on getting married, it just accelerated it. And it was, I think though, maybe an overreaction on our part, like I wasn't about to get fired. But on the other hand, I gave birth and then took off work for 4 months. So I couldn't have done that.
Oh, yeah,
I couldn't have done that otherwise. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, I think more that I just wish I'd had a better plan, like more of a, like, I'm doing this. Like, I think yours is good. You got married and you're saying next summer we're doing this. And even if it changes to something else, people are kind of thinking in the back of their minds, okay, I must leave time in my summer for this, you know?
Yeah. So what about weddings more generally, right? Not to necessarily point out and go, what was the best wedding you were ever at? But like, what aspects of a wedding do you think are important, or like what has kind of made good weddings that you've been to, if you know what I mean?
I've honestly not been to very many weddings. I've been to like some family weddings, and I think the more low key they are, the more I enjoy them. You know, I'm not super into the pomp. I like smaller weddings because people actually tend to know each other and can
and
chat.
You also get to talk to people,
but because you know them, you know. Whereas, I mean, it's not that I don't like, not that I hate talking to people I don't know. I don't, you know, it's fine. It's interesting sometimes, but I think that the bigger weddings tend to be more like you're trying to chat to the person who could be, you know, a really good friend of yours, and they can't talk to you because they're talking to like the sisters, brothers, cousins, uncles, aunt, you know. What do you think makes a good wedding?
Probably the same. Now, like I think I've been to even fewer weddings than you have. And no, I think I have like I've been to 3 friends' weddings, and then Makdara's wedding, and one of my ex-boyfriend's friends' weddings. And that's it.
Well, I've been to mainly,
and like your wedding party.
I've been to mainly cousins' weddings, but like I always, you know, if I think about, I always really enjoyed French weddings a lot. Like they're very relaxed, they're very easygoing. Like there's a ceremony, and then there's dinner, but like there was no kind of ever fanciness. It's not, you know, I think that Irish and American weddings tend to be more about like, we're going to hire this place and we're going to have caterers, whereas the French weddings were more like, here's my friend's cousin who cooks risotto, and we're going to have risotto for dinner, and here's some cakes we got at the local bakery, you know, and then we're going to dance on this like bit of square patio, and then it's time to go home, and everybody just has a really nice time. And I feel like the bride and groom also don't feel overwhelmed with expectation, you know. And that was, and also very often they would do them because a lot of obviously I lived in Paris, and the people that I worked with came from all over France, and very often they came from the south of France or kind of more coastal towns, and so they would go home for their weddings, and you would go to these kind of really charming villages, you know, and it was always in the summer, and the weather was lovely, and there'd be swimming pools, and it was just all very nice, and kind of like being kind of a mini getaway break, but in actually somebody's back garden, which was really nice.
I mean, I agree. Like I think that the more relaxed it is, the better. I think often when you're at a wedding where it's very like highly itinerized, you know what I mean? When it's like, now we're having the drinks, and now we're going here, and now we're doing the cocktails, and now we're having the dinner, and now we're doing the speeches, now we're doing this. It can be just a little bit difficult to get into the flow of, I'm having a drink and I'm having a chat and it's really nice. You know what I mean? Because you're then moved to do something else, or you have to go and take photos. So I think the more relaxed they are just suits me. But I also, like, I find the full weekend weddings, which I've been to, kind of a lot of the weddings that I've been to have been the wedding on the Saturday and then a big barbecue or a party or something down the pub on a Sunday. And I've always found that a little bit hard. I think just because I basically get myself into a flap coming up to a wedding, coming up to any occasion where I know I'm going to have to see loads of people that I know and kind of know. And like, I worry about making small talk and all these things that are stupid because I'm really good at making small talk. You know what I mean? But I just get myself into a complete flap. And then by day 2, I'm absolutely wrecked. And I'm literally like, oh my God, I don't know if I can actually face people anymore. So I find that very overwhelming. But that's more of a personal, like, that's my problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's interesting.
That's not really a reflection on weddings necessarily.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of the point of like thinking about your own wedding. What would you want to avoid or do differently, etc. It's interesting. So I was going to ask you though, how did Brandon propose to you?
Basically, I was sitting in the kitchen on New Year's Eve. I don't know, he'd gone out to borrow a meat thermometer from his friend because we were going to...
Oh my God, so sexy.
I know, because he was going to smoke a brisket the next day or New Year's Day or something. I know. Listen, Beatrice, get yourself a man with a smoker. That's all I'll say.
Did you not give him the smoker?
Anyway. Yeah.
So what you mean is create yourself a man with a smoker.
Create the perfect man, yes. Get a man, then buy him the things you want him to have. So Brandon said that he wanted to go out and get this meat thermometer from his friend. And I remember at the time saying to him, do you want me to go with you for the drive? And he was like, no, thanks. And I was kind of like, not really annoyed, but I was like, he never wants me to go with him anywhere. It's ridiculous. We could just spend time together. So I was at home sulking and also doing a jigsaw while sulking. And I was missing one particular piece. I think like loads of the pieces. There was one basically blue piece that I was like, this piece is not in the box. It's missing. I was in a rage. So Brandon comes home from getting the meat thermometers, like shuffling around the kitchen, whatever. I was like, oh, you know, how's Brad? He was like, fine, blah, blah, blah. I said, why don't you help me with my jigsaw? Which I say to him all the time.
Was that a
metaphor? No thanks, and just walks off.
Why don't you help me with my jigsaw? No. Slot it in here. Is that what you meant?
Slot it? No, that's not what I meant.
Slot.
Anyway,
Slotted over here.
Slotted in here.
Slotter.
He, very uncharacteristically came over as if to help with the jigsaw. And I was honestly so delighted. I was like, oh my God, this isn't like him. He's helping with my jigsaw. And then he goes, oh, there's a piece on the ground. And I was like, yes, my blue piece that I haven't been able to find. And I looked over, I looked over and looked straight down on the ground, like, where's the piece? And didn't really notice for a couple of seconds. I was like, where is it? Like, why isn't he picking it up? And then I looked up and he was like there on one knee with the box in his hand. The open box with the ring in it.
Bless.
And I stared at him and I was like, oh my God, are you joking? Is this a joke? Oh my God. Like, are you joking? And I was like almost looking around for the cameras, you know what I mean? Going, oh my God, is this, oh my God. He said, no, it's not a joke. And you haven't said anything yet or something. And I was like, well, you haven't asked me anything.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then he goes, Rosemary, no middle name McCabe. Will you marry me? And I said, yes.
Excuse me, what's Brandon's middle name?
Robert.
Oh, with an I?
No, with a W. Robert. And then we kissed and we were delighted. And then I think I FaceTimed Liam to tell him. And then I suddenly was like, oh my God, I can't FaceTime anyone else till I have a shower. Because that was the same day that I'd FaceTimed you earlier and you had taken a screen grab of my greasy hair and gone, you look terrible. And he had literally come home.
Excuse me, are you telling me that you FaceTimed and chatted Liam before you told me?
No, that couldn't be correct. No. You know what it was? No, it wasn't Liam. It was Mom and Dad. Because I tried to call you on, you didn't answer. And then I tried to group call and you didn't answer, which you know is a very, very common and very realistic and obviously truthful story. I tried to group call you and Mom and Dad and you didn't answer. So I called Mom and Dad and told them.
Cannot.
Then I went and had a shower. Then I tried you again. Still no answer. Then I called Liam. Then I called you again.
Excuse me. Who is to thank for this relationship? Who?
Me. I was the one who went on Tinder. You were there going, can you not just enjoy yourself?
Excuse me.
Listen, if it wasn't for me, I would never put myself out there.
You're half right. But who dragged their spouse to Indiana against his will? Me. Who ignored his plaintive gasps for air once we crossed the state line to Indiana? Me.
You.
Who drove you willingly in a very sexy family SUV to Buffalo Wild Wings and dropped you off in the parking lot to be murdered?
Also you.
Me. You're welcome.
And I wasn't murdered, and a mere 18 months later, I was married, not murdered.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
It's a bit dodgy.
Well, it's fantastic. It just goes to show that, you know, all single women should flock to Fort Wayne. There's obviously a dearth of attractive women here.
Although actually, you know what? One of my friends messaged me the other day and said, I really hope you're going to have a Fort Wayne wedding and I really hope there are going to be some single men there. And I was like, no. Oh, and also one of my Fort Wayne friends said, I hope you're inviting a whole lot of single Irish men. And I was like,
excuse me,
no,
why would there not be a ton of... There are loads of single men here. It's just, you have to be aware that like expectations from Ireland to America are different. So if you're going to meet a 32-year-old or 35-year-old man in Fort Wayne and he's single, he's probably already been married and divorced at least once, if not twice.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't want to overgeneralize, but like there's a different expectation for like settling down, etc.
Yeah. When I first joined Tinder here, I don't think I saw anybody who was single and hadn't either been married or had kids or both.
Like was willingly single, still at 35, and as in like of a choice, you know, like had not been in some way, yeah. And then if you think about Ireland, like you're going to say, well, this is the 35-year-old, and are they? They're potentially not somebody who wants to settle down, right? Potentially. Age 35. Like, it's much more normal, but I'm also going to be like that 35-year-old person is, if they're entire, like, there's a difference between being the 35-year-old who just still wants to find somebody who wants to settle down, and 35-year-old is just like, hell no. And that's also possible. But like, that's much more culturally normal. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I'm just more saying that's a thing. Whereas I don't know that that's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
But like, when I got chatting to like loads of guys, I think at least 3 guys that I got chatting to on Tinder were like, can I ask, like, how come you've never been married?
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, I'm not trying to say...
nobody would ever ask that?
Yeah, I'm not trying to say that it's a bad thing being single at 35.
No, it's just totally normal.
Was I single at 35? No, I was single at 31. But like, well, I don't know, 30, 31. But it's more that like this idea of being single in your 30s is like, are you actively avoiding a relationship? Are you actively avoiding?
Yes,
It's like,
here,
no,
yeah.
like, yeah, here. I mean, it's like, no, I'm just, it just hasn't happened for me yet. Or I just haven't met the right person. It's like, haven't met the right person. But like back when you were 19, like what went wrong? It's just, it's different.
Why didn't you meet the right person in high school? No, but sorry, I didn't mean there are no single men in Fort Wayne. I just meant I don't know any that would be at my wedding. Like, and I don't know any Irish single men that I would be inviting to my wedding either.
For anybody who's planning to make the journey to Fort Wayne, Chicago's really nice, it's nearby. Detroit is really nice, it's nearby. And we will find some single men if that's what you're looking for. We will invite them to the wedding. I've already invited some of my friends to Rosemary's wedding, unbeknownst to her. And it's going to be quite the shindig. Quite the shindig.
You're taking great liberties, but seeing as the wedding is going to be in your back garden, you're allowed.
Potentially. And even if it isn't, I will.
Oh, if it isn't, you can invite 4 people. That's at max.
Oh, 4, really? I'll organise the minibus to bring my 20 people, and they will be the life and soul of the party. They will be, and I will make sure that whatever gender you prefer, whatever gender balance you want on my bus, I'll make sure it happens. Okay. It's going to be amazing.
You're going to have to write into Reddit, into the Am I the Asshole thread and be like, I want to bring 20 people to my sister's wedding and she said I'm being an asshole.
No,
who's right?
They're all going to be your besties by then. You're going to be delighted with life.
Oh, please God. I cannot wait for us all to be vaccinated. And not that I'm like, then we can all socialise, because I know we still have to be cautious until there's a certain like critical mass, but I just cannot wait to be vaccinated so we can just worry a little bit less.
I think until until kids get a vaccination, then that's when critical mass will be achieved, And right now kids are not going to be
but they're saying that'll be
early
March next year.
Early 22. But I mean, for example, the other day I was telling somebody that you were engaged and getting married, and I was like, and you can come to the party, and this person is incredibly nice and super cool. And I was like, and you can come to the party and it's going to be great. And she wrote back, I can't wait. Like, it's going to be a party, happiness, wedding. And I'm like, I think in a normal year, this individual will be like, thanks. Well, I don't really know your sister, and, maybe I'll get to know her. But she was just like, yes. And I was also like, yay!
A celebration.
Yes. So it's going to be exciting.
Oh God, I can't wait. I can't wait till we can celebrate things again.
Okay, well, back to me.
Together.
I had a similar...
Although, sorry, I'm saying that, but then I'm like, there's too many people here. I'm going to bed. Can't talk.
I had a similar engagement story. Thanks for asking. Where...
We already talked about your engagement story on the podcast.
Did we?
When you were talking about how Don got down on one knee and you were basically like, what are you doing? Get up.
Damn. I'd love to tell it again.
Damn, double damn.
He got down on one knee and I was like, what are you doing? And he was proposing to me, ladies and gentlemen. I too was semi-mortified and I was like, get up. Like, it's super snowy. Why is your knee in the snow? And to be fair to Don, he was like, it's really cold down here. Could you answer me?
And what was the ring like, Beatrice?
It was a beautiful ring, Rosemary. It was from Tiffany's. It was really modern, kind of gem cut. I don't even know what that means. No, it was from you, Rosie. It was a family heirloom. And it was so nice of you, and it's so lovely. And now my fingers have gotten too fat to wear it, so I got to go on a post-pandemic slim down so that I can wear both my wedding ring and my engagement ring. Because right now, chubby fingos can't wear anything. But... no,
listen, Beatrice, it's not your fault. You just had a baby almost 3 years ago. Your body's still recovering.
Absolute bitch. Maybe I could put them on maybe I could do something like in a movie and put them around my neck and then be like, my husband gave these to me.
You know what? I'd like people to send us, so I know we're always asking, tell us your stories. I don't want your wedding stories.
What?
What I do want is, I don't want their wedding stories. Maybe you do. You can say what you want in a second. I want a picture of them and their sister, or their sister from another mister at their wedding.
Well, I'd love some wedding stories, but I'd like some,
the partner.
Sorry, you said I could talk. I'd like some, what unusual wedding stories did you have? Where did you get married that was not the expected locale? Who eloped? Who got married on a whim? Who, and hopefully you're all still together, or not if those people were knobs. So feel free to tell us all your wedding stories. Rosemary, what wedding have you gone to that was just the weirdest, but still fun? Anything weird ever in a wedding? Have you ever been to a Las Vegas wedding? Were you at Brittany's wedding?
No. Brittany's wedding to Jason Alexander, I was not, sadly.
God,
although I should have been, as Brittany's
you should have been
number 17 fan. No, I don't think I've ever been to anything weird. I was at a wedding in the Angler's Rest, which was pretty low key and but it was really nice and really relaxed, and they had just music played from an iPod, and I think her mom or his mom had made the cake, and it was really nice and just chilled. So that's probably what I would go for. Although, like I say that now, but when I first started thinking about getting married, have to say I have great empathy and understanding now for people who get absolutely carried away, because I literally was going down the
oh my
I'm
God,
gonna
we
wear
know.
a huge
Mom
white
and
wedding
I,
dress.
you've literally haven't even begun wedding planning, and Mom and I are like, what's Bridezilla texting you today? We know. Insane in the membrane is all I'd like to say.
Mom would never call me Bridezilla.
She absolutely did. She 1,000,000% did. She texted me and she said, your sister has become an unknown entity to me. She is, capital letters, Bridezilla. How is she so uniquely strange? Why is she so difficult? Anyway, I'd like to say...
And then she sent you a picture of her, like, chicken McNuggets.
I'd like to say that, you know what, of all the weddings I've been to, like, the most memorable in terms of food was the one down in Kilkenny with our cousin Blaise Smith, painter, and his wife, Orla Kelly, interior designer and television personality. And they had was it a marquee? I don't know, like outside their gaff. And it was really nice. And I remember, oh my God, I wore my yellow buffalo shoes during when I sang at their wedding. Oh God, you're right. I did own those. Yes, you weren't lying. And anyway, for their dessert, they had bread and butter. For their dessert, they had bread and butter pudding. And it was heaven. And of all the weddings I've ever been to, it was the most memorable, most delicious dessert / food / anything. It was heaven.
It was your most memorable wedding-related food moment. You know, I have a whole panettone in my cupboard to make panettone bread and butter pudding, but I've been thinking I'm going to wait until we're all vaccinated so we can have it together.
There's no reason why you can't cut it in half and drop it over to my house. You keep threatening this.
Oh no, I'd like to have it together.
We can Zoom have it together.
Well, that'd be weird.
I'd love it. I'd love it today. Yeah, I had a panettone, and usually I hate panettones.
Love it today.
And I got given it as I can't remember what brand it was, but one of the women I work with gave it to me, and it was delicious. So I take back every bad thing I've ever said about panettone. I hated them when I lived in Italy. They were gross. Remember, Julie and I carried them home in our suitcase one Christmas, thinking this was like the gold manna from heaven. And
delicacy.
And when we got home, it was like every single day we would text each other, has anybody eaten any panettone in your house? She'd be like, my dad cut up 2 slices and toasted it very begrudgingly. Like, everybody hated it. It was disgusting.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, you're welcome. See? What a memory. I'm so glad I took up all my space in my suitcase for that. You're welcome.
Well, listen, I'm sure you were wearing almost all your clothes, so you were fine.
But you know what? That 40 coats reference has genuinely... You have earned your stripes with that one, pardon the pun. I've had to send so many pictures of 40 coats to American friends and listeners who are like, what is this thing of which you speak? And I'm like, I'm trying to find the most flattering picture of 40 coats. There aren't very many, just so you know.
Maybe they'll have to bring it back. Oh, sorry. Speaking of 40 coats, and it's not really speaking of 40 coats. Sorry. Speaking of Americans and translating things, and not to give him another plug on the podcast, but Kevin texted me the other day when I put up something about my eyebrows and said something like, what's you and your sister's obsession with eyebrows? And I said, eyebrows are a very
Did he at least say that mine
culture.
were looking much better than yours right now?
No.
I'm doing so much work on mine.
No. He said, what's your obsession? And I said, eyebrows are very important in Irish culture. And I sent him the profiles of not 1, not 2, but approximately 6 Irish well-known influencers who have very statement eyebrows. And he didn't even respond. So he's dead to me now.
Kevin. Ever since Kevin moved from Fort Wayne back to Dallas, and now he thinks he's too good for us.
Too big for his boots.
Too big for his britches. That's right. That's right. He thinks he says
these
things.
Boots were made for ignoring Rosemary's Instagram messages. That's what they were made for.
He texts me in the morning now, like when we're on Zoom, and he goes, "Whose eyebrows are these?" And I'm like, "They're mine. Thank you, Kevin. What's that supposed to mean?" And you know, for a while I was doing Kourtney Kardashian. What do you think of my eyebrows today, Rosemary? For example.
They're looking quite Natalie Portman today.
Oh, Rosemary, thank you. But I have to say, I spent a long time on my eyebrows the day of your wedding. And then when they took the pictures of us, I was like, my eyebrows, which I always think are like too much, paled in comparison next to your massive caterpillars. So I'm like, maybe I need to go, you know, I need to go harder at these puppies. For when we go to Montreal or wherever we're going for our eyebrow treatments.
Oh, yeah.
Sashiko.
Studio Sashiko. Yeah, or Shasiko.
I have it all planned, Rosemary. I'm dying. I'm literally going to be like, Don, you have had a week away.
For a mini break.
No, Don, you have had a week away to Star Wars Land with your brother and Nash. You have had a week away to where do you have the other week? Somewhere else with Nash and your brother. And it is time for BIIIIG to have at least 3 days away to be. And this is the ridiculous part. This is how the male and female, like male is like, I'm going to have a great Disney adventure. I'm like, I'm going to be absolutely tortured with a needle on my eyebrows to look better for you. Sorry, for myself. He wouldn't even give.
On that hyper-feminist note.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to Not Without My Sister.
Thanks.
You can find us on Instagram at Not Without My Sister. Not Without My Sister? You can find us on Instagram at Not Without My Sister.
Yes.
I'm on Instagram at Rosemary McCabe and Beatrice is at Beatrice McCabe. Our website is notwithoutmysis.com and you can email us any questions, queries, critiques, compliments, much appreciated, to notwithoutmysis@gmail.com. If you haven't already and you have access to Apple Podcasts and could give us a 5-star review, that would be amazing.
Any hot eyebrow makeup tips, welcome, please.
Oh yeah. Recommend your favourite eyebrow products because Beatrice is always in the market to spend money on things she doesn't need.
Eyebrow wise,
especially when they relate to your
yes,
eyebrows. Yeah. Thank you so much. You'll get us on Friday for a mini-sode and next Tuesday for another full-length episode. You lucky things.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Not Without My Sister is produced by the genius that is Liam Geraghty. Music composed and other things by Don Kirkland. And original illustration by Lindsay Nielsen. All the wit, crack, feminism from myself and Rosemary. Thanks for listening.
Not Without My Sister is a proud member of The Warren, the home of great Irish podcasts, as is my podcast, the Dublin Story Slam podcast. You can find them all over at thewarren.ie.